Yeah, we've seen the darkness in JRPGs. We all know the popular ones which turned out to be darker than expected. We also know the ones that are already expected to be dark. Even some of the most obscure titles that are nowadays well known for being dark. But what about the ones that absolutely no one was expecting to be like that? Well, today we're gonna take a look at 10 of those. 10 JRPGs that turned out to be surprisingly dark. Number 10, Breath of Fire 5. Let's forget about the fact of whether this game is good or bad. We all know it has a bad reputation, but that's a story for another time. The point is that this 5th entry is surprisingly dark. The Breath of Fire series has enjoyed some small dark twists to them. There's always that element of dark fantasy and some tiny mature narrative elements, but never in the same level as in 5 here. For starters, the setting is post-apocalyptic, the surface has been destroyed and humanity now lives in the underground. Second, the lower they live, the less pure air humans breathe. As a result, there's a lot of military corruption and oppression. Third, Ryu rebels against the government in an attempt to escape this cursed fate. And finally, he rescues Nina, who was about to be literally and horribly transformed into an air purification machine. They were going to turn her into a freaking device for pure air. Damn! If that isn't a dark and twisted plot all around, then I don't know what is. The whole atmosphere of the setting, the character development, dialogue, and struggle is very depressing and sinister. This has some serious shit that I certainly wasn't expecting from a mere Breath of Fire game. Number 9, Zanki Zero. The thing about this game is that it doesn't present itself as a psychological nightmare it truly is. Most of the advertising was done with barely anything mature showing off. And of course, what can you expect from a game with a bunch of characters lost in a desert island? The cast looks colorful and cliché. There are some cute girls and some sexy girls to romance with. There's a bizarre show they have to watch on TV that's beyond stupid, with a silly kid talking to a silly sheep. Characters have to find food and water to survive, but they also gotta go to the bathroom. They grow old extremely fast and die only to be reborn in an arcade machine as little kids. So yeah, it's fucked up, but in a funny and bizarre way, you know? It is when we get to see their pasts, when all the darkness gets revealed. Those what the hell am I playing moments when you realize how messed up their lives were before coming to the island. The boss design is also a bit creepy because it represents their guilt, remorse, or whatever dark and twisted feeling they have. So the game ended up with a mature rating when localized, not just because of the sexual innuendo, but also because it's, well, surprisingly dark. Number 8, Fuga, Melodies of Steel. This is a trilogy about a bunch of cute little kids that resemble cats and dogs. I mean, look at them. Does this look like a game that will be edgy and dark? No, right? But it is. Their families have disappeared into quite possibly a concentration camp in the middle of a devastating war. So they set off to rescue them with a magical tank with 3 powerful cannons. A tank that holds a terrifying secret. One that can allow you to literally sacrifice one kid to fire an uber powerful shot against a boss if things get way too tough. That kid becomes pure energy, dies horribly, and becomes only one shot, never to come back to life again. So yeah, that's the plot of these cutesy looking games with noble family themes. To fight within a war zone against killing machines and tanks. Of course, the trilogy isn't a mature rating or anything, most JRPGs in this list aren't. It's just by looking at these characters, graphics and gameplay, you wouldn't expect such a dark plot to unravel within them, that's all. Number 7, Digimon Survive. I just did a full review of this game, I know, but it definitely needed to be here, simply because no one was expecting a Digimon game to be a horror story, or basically a ghost story with high school kids trapped in a creepy parallel world trying to survive and escape. A very interactive visual novel with tons of decisions to be made that affect your relationships with everyone, leading to different endings, some of them pretty damn dark. A point-and-click system with investigations with your phone as you try to find clues. And finally, a grid-based tactical combat within an isometric view where you control a bunch of Digimon that can evolve. And you can also talk to some of the enemies to recruit them into your party. It's a good game, check out my review of it if you can. Number 6. Loop 8, Summer of Gods. This isn't a great game. It has a lot of problems and a couple of fatal flaws. I've covered it before. Today though is about how colorful, lighthearted and cozy it is, in a sense that you wouldn't expect anything dark from it. You go around a few places within a small town, including a high school. You can talk to anybody to trigger different conversations and choices to learn more about them. This is also how you increase your bonds. Everything just feels like a happy social simulator with nothing to worry about, right? But then you realize at the end of every week, the town will turn ghostly and eerie because now you've entered the dark subconscious of one character. As you go around, you have to talk to these weird creatures to learn more about the sad or depressing secrets the characters have. You also fight in turn-based battles, of course, and the enemies don't quite match the lively nature the game showed before. Finally, you get all the psychological outbursts from a character as they turn into a horrific-looking boss you need to defeat. Sure, it's nowhere near as dark as many other JRPGs out there, but that's not the point. The point is that no one, including me, was expecting this game to be dark. Surprisingly dark. Number 5. Utawarerumono. I've talked about how surprisingly dark this trilogy is before. The first game had some mature themes to it, but nothing that dark. The second game only serves as a prelude to quite possibly a sinister plot. It is the third game, Mask of Truth, that goes batshit crazy with dark themes. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I'm not just talking about blood, violence, and war portrayal that occurs within it. I'm also talking about the disturbing plot twists when everything starts being revealed. The truth of the world, the truth of the main character, and what really happened before. And I can't leave out some really tragic moments that led to serious psychological outbursts. All of this in a visual novel strategy RPG with Neko-like characters, cute girls, beautiful girls, sexy girls, and of course, tons of fan service. As you may have expected, the trilogy also brings with slice-of-life dumbass comedic instances and several silly jokes to lighten the mood. The third game, the darkest of the bunch, is no exception. So there, you wouldn't expect a game like this to get unexpectedly dark at some parts. Number 4. Fate Extra. Same as with Utawarerumono, visual novel RPGs with tons of fan service, teenage fantasy and action, etc. However, the Fate universe is very well acquainted with dark themes or mature themes, just not in the sense of being so utterly messed up in a couple of PSP video games, especially the second one, since it's the most colorful one with way more fan service than its predecessor. There's even a mini game where you have to break the girls' minds, literally undressing them with each correct choice. So how does a game like this end up having a super dark plot? I don't know, but they made sure to include a lot of philosophical themes, religious themes, mature themes, psychological torture, depression, death, tragedy, and violence. I mean, sure, I was expecting most of this stuff, but in a tamed level or something, not in crazy-ass quantities. I'm not sure why the first game got away with a teen rating, but I'm guessing they probably censored or altered some stuff, including the swearing. All of that censorship is gone in its sequel though, because it never left Japan and it's fan translated. I will leave my full video review of this duology at the end if you want to know the whole thing. Number 3. Trails in the Sky the Third. This game is only here because it just had to be here. It's famous already because everyone and their mom talked about the Ran backstory. You see, Ren is a character we see growing up throughout the entirety of the Trails franchise, from a little girl all the way to a full-fledged adult, unlike most of the other characters who were teenagers or adults already, hence why she has a lot of fans out there. So this third entry in the Sky trilogy has a shocking revelation on her background that absolutely no one was expecting to be surprisingly dark. You go into some optional doors in the game to learn more about your characters and quite possibly to better connect with them. Well, no spoilers, but prepare to open Ren's door at some point and find out how she lived in a secluded location with other kidnapped kids. So whatever happens here, like I said, no spoilers, but the theme is within this game, and neither the original Japanese script nor the Exceed Games localization tried to hide it. So that's why, despite most of you already knowing this game is kinda controversial, it still needed to be in the list. Number 2. Tales of Xillia 2. Dark themes aren't strangers to the Tales series, but before the popular Berseria came out, it wasn't really a thing, you know, at least not until the direct sequel of Tales of Xillia came out. In here, there are some Chrono Cross shenanigans, as in some alternate or parallel dimensions appearing. At some point, the characters have access to them and have to terminate them. That means literally destroying an entire possible universe that will just kill all living beings within it. The worst comes when they come into contact with other characters from these other worlds and create bonds, like with Mila Maxwell, the one from another one. Imagine the emotional turmoil the characters go through, especially our hero Ludger here. His brother is also another surprisingly dark plot twist, one that connects most of the bizarre stuff that happens in both worlds. There's more, but I think you get the idea. This darkness is explained in a video I did last year about the duology. I also explained there the reasons why this game turned out to be this dark. I'll leave it at the end so you can watch it. Don't worry, it doesn't have any spoilers. Number 1. Ys 9, Monstrum Nox. The Ys series isn't exactly known for its dark, mature, or gothic themes. There's been a little bit of that within some of them, but never on the same level as with Monstrum Nox. Not only does Adol end up being shot by a dark-looking woman named Aprilis, but he also acquires powers that transforms him into some kind of emo-looking rock star. Yeah. Plus, all of a sudden, there are 2 Adols, and one of them is in prison looking for an escape route. The plot goes on from there until finally unraveling some disturbing truths about the city, the prison, and the bizarre experiments within them. Of course I love this plot. It quickly became my favorite story written in any Ys game ever. But let's admit it, this isn't the kind of story you would expect from one. And we can't ignore some of the dark twists a few characters have here that are also highly unusual for an Ys narrative. It's just the feel of it, the atmosphere, the whole prison city setting, the plot twists, this whole Aprilis thing and the Chaos Gates, everything screams dark and edgy. Man, I wish the story could have been expanded or at least novelized. If only they will do an official book based on it, like they did with Lacrimosa of Dana. Wait a second. Hell yeah! There's gonna be one! And written by the same author, Anna Kashina again. An official novelization of Ys 9, Monstrum Nox, coming to Amazon and other major retailers. Pre-orders are available right now, with physical and digital copies of the book arriving during spring of 2026. If you're a fan of this game like me, you owe it to yourself to get the book. Find the link to the website so you can pre-order it now in the description.